Avengers Infinity War and Endgame were spectacular movies, filled with so many great moments and heroes. You think that it couldn't have gotten any better, but it turns out that these two films almost had another cosmic hero that could have changed everything. Apparently, there were plans to include the cosmic hero Nova in these two Avengers mega films, and he was going to play a major role. While Nova didn't end up appearing in these movies, we still think he's going to have a major role in the future of the MCU, especially if we get to see the MCU's version of the Annihilation storyline in the future. In a recent interview, Stephen McFeely and Christopher Markus, the writers of Avengers Infinity War, Endgame, and all the Captain America movies, revealed some major tidbits about the original plans for Infinity War, including that the cosmic hero Nova was supposed to be in the film and play a major role. As you all remember, Infinity War began with Thanos delivering Hulk a Titan smashing like no other. Hulk is then sent to Earth, where he warns Doctor Strange and the other heroes about the Mad Titan's plans to collect all 6 Infinity Stones. The Hulk was actually a stand-in for the Silver Surfer, who had played the same role in the Infinity Gauntlet comic that Infinity War is based on. But apparently, in the original plans for the movie, it was Nova who was going to deliver this warning. After Thanos collected the Power Stone, he decimated Xandar, and the only surviving member of the Nova Corps, Richard Rider, traveled to Earth with a Xandarian world mind to warn the Avengers about the Mad Titan. McFeely and Markus said that the idea was to introduce a whole new hero while saying goodbye to the original Avengers. The movie would have been drastically different, with many character journeys changing their direction completely. We assumed that the addition of Nova would have also altered some things in Endgame. McFeely and Markus did confirm that the idea of using Nova in Infinity War was during very early stages of the script process, and eventually they understood that adding Nova to Infinity War wasn't the best use of the character. And we have to agree with this decision. Don't get us wrong, Nova's a great character, but considering the fact that both of these films were jam-packed with so many characters, adding a whole new one would have been a complete disservice to Nova, since it was simply impossible to give him the proper screen time to really shine. That being said, since there were plans to add Nova as a major player in both Infinity War and Endgame, we think there's a good chance that once Nova does join the MCU, he'll play a crucial role in the new Marvel saga. Nova is a spectacular hero, and since there's going to be a lot of focus on the cosmic side of the MCU going forward, it makes total sense that Nova will show up in a big capacity. Especially if we get an adaptation of the Annihilation storyline at some point, a major comic book arc where Nova played a crucial role. Richard Rider became a big fan favorite since the Annihilation storyline, and he has tons of potential to be one of the next big heroes in these films. But before we talk about what Nova's role might be in the upcoming phases, let's get into Nova's origin and what's up with his Xandarian world mind. Nova first appeared in Marvel Comics in 1976 as the man called Nova #1. Before being selected by the Nova Prime, Roman Day, the last surviving member of the Nova Corps, and becoming Nova, Richard Rider was just a regular old high school student. It took Nova some time to finally find his footing in the pages of Marvel Comics. At first, he was a mix of DC's Green Lantern and Peter Parker, but over the years, Richard Rider really came into his own. The Annihilation storyline reinvented the hero, turning him into one of the most important heroes in the galaxy and a true cosmic powerhouse. Ever since 2011, Marvel shifted their focus to a new Nova, Sam Alexander. While Sam is a great character in his own right, Richard is the OG Nova, and he's got a special place in the hearts of many fans. So it makes sense that Richard Rider will be the MCU's first Nova. Sam Alexander should appear at some point as well, but we think that Richard should get the spotlight first. The Nova Corps is a space police force that originally protected only the planet Xandar, but eventually, after Richard Rider rebuilt the Corps, they started protecting the rest of the galaxy. Nova has some amazing powers granted by the Nova Force, the cosmic energy that gives the elite members of the Nova Corps their abilities. The Nova Force comes directly from the Xandarian world mind, a sentient supercomputer that uses the collective intelligence of dead Nova members. The supercomputer also monitors the Nova Force. Only elite members of the Corps, like the Centurions and Nova Prime, have full access to the Nova Force. Other members have access to some powers, but their energy is very limited based on their rank. The Nova Force is no joke, and it's very similar to the power cosmic used by Galactus and the Silver Surfer. The Nova Force energy is almost limitless, and if someone gets full access to it, they could become one of the most powerful beings in the entire universe. The Nova Corps played a big role in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. However, we didn't see any member of the Xandarian Space Police using the Nova Force. All the members in the MCU were regular people with zero superpowers. Even the Nova Prime, who's the most powerful member of the Corps in the comics, didn't have any hint of the cosmic energy. You'd think that at least some Centurions would have protected Xandar when Ronan the Accuser attacked the planet, but since no such thing happened, we can only derive from it that the Nova Corps in the MCU has no access to the Nova Force. It's likely that Marvel Studios decided to depower the Nova Corps so as not to overshadow the Guardians of the Galaxy during the battle on Xandar. However, if that's the case, how exactly will Nova get his powers? Well, that's where the World Mind comes in. For years, Richard Rider, as well as all other members of the Nova Corps, could use portions of the Force. However, that all changed during the Annihilation storyline. In that arc, the Corps was wiped out during the invasion of Annihilus from the Negative Zone. The destruction of the Nova Corps resulted in Richard Rider fusing with the World Mind, safeguarding the supercomputer inside of his body. This allowed Richard to tap into the full energy of the Nova Force, which obviously made him extremely powerful. We believe that after Ronan's devastating attack on Xandar in 2014, the Nova Corps decided to build the Xandarian World Mind as a deterrent against future attacks. They probably hoped to create an elite force that'll be able to protect the planet, but they likely were too late by the time Thanos showed up. That being said, the World Mind was likely built in the 4-year gap between the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie and Infinity War. The Nova Corps had access to some advanced technology, which helped them build a supercomputer on short notice. Who knows? It's always possible that in the MCU, the World Mind was built with the energy of the Power Stone, which was protected by the Corps for 4 years. There's a precedent in the MCU for the Infinity Stones being used to power weapons, lightspeed engines, and more. Let's also not forget that the Space and Mind Stones gave Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch their godlike powers respectively, and we won't be surprised if the same happens with Nova. Beyond that, Tony Stark was only able to build Ultron after getting his hands on the Mind Stone. The Infinity Stones can pretty much do anything, let alone provide limitless energy to create a supercomputer that can give people cosmic energy. Regardless, it's very likely that Richard Rider will be the first superpowered Nova, and we think he'll get his powers directly from the Xandarian World Mind after being fused with it. But due to the MCU timeline, we have a feeling that Nova's origins will be altered a bit to make more sense with everything that happened in Endgame. We could still see Roman Day being the one that gives Richard his powers. Maybe Day was able to save the World Mind when Thanos attacked. Or maybe we'll see a serious alteration to Nova's origin, and Richard will become Nova with the help of the Guardians of the Galaxy. After all, when Sam Alexander became Nova, Rocket Raccoon and Gamora played a major role in his origin and helped him become the new Nova. So maybe in the MCU, the origin stories of both Richard and Sam will be fused. Who knows, we might see this happen in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Regardless of how it happens, we believe that Richard will get the full energy of the Nova Force after being fused with the Xandarian World Mind. One really exciting thing about Nova's origin in the MCU is that we're likely going to see Thanos' return. We don't mean that the Mad Titan will come back to life. No, we mean that Thanos is likely to appear in a flashback that'll show his attack on Xandar, which will be pretty cool to watch. We brought up the Annihilation storyline a few times in this video, and there is a reason for it. The 2006 series was epic, and it was Nova's big break in the comics. In that story, Annihilus invaded the universe with his Annihilation Wave, a huge armada of ships and alien bugs. The whole thing was crazy, as multiple worlds were wiped out by the wave and Annihilus threatened to destroy the entire universe. He even captured Galactus and used him as his personal Death Star. One of the great things about this story is how space heroes and villains put their differences aside and teamed up against Annihilus. They had to do that because Earth's heroes were too busy punching each other with their civil war to join the battle against the Annihilation Wave. This allowed Marvel to put the focus on cosmic heroes and villains, and Nova was one of the main characters of the story, as he led the space war against Annihilus. Seeing Nova come into his own was great, and the series finally allowed Nova to show his full potential. Nova was the one who delivered the final blow that ended Annihilus, along with a little help from Galactus. Considering how epic the Annihilation storyline was, we have to assume we'll see the story play out in the MCU at some point over the next 3 phases. And we think Nova is going to play a huge role in that story, just like he did in the comics. Considering the potential Nova has and the fact that he almost played a huge role in Infinity War and Endgame, we think it's only a matter of time before Nova joins the MCU and gets his time in the spotlight. What do you think about all this? Do you think Nova should play a big role in the future of the MCU? How should he get his powers? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, show us some love by leaving a like and subscribing to CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.